What's cracking, everybody? Zerfel Rose here with Maggie, bringing you guys some Pokemon Go Battle content. And in today's video, we've got the smiliest little baby, fresh woken up from a nap, and a really strong team showcasing just how good Surf Jellicent is in the Open Ultra League now, paired with my Shadow Alolan Ninetales and my Cofagrigus. I'm never gonna get it consistent. It's like my mind flops between the two ways to say it. Thanks, Home Slice Henry. I know it's your fault. Love you, dude. Anyway, some strong sets in this team. With this team, gonna go right into the battles here. Quick shout out to my patron Discord. If you guys are looking to get into a Discord that has one of the greatest communities in the entire PvP sphere, as well as getting early access to all my teams, meta-analysis, strategies before they hit YouTube, that's the place to go. You can check out the link in the description, as well as coaching. I do that via Metafy. That's also in the description as well. Without any further ado or self-shilling, let's find the button to get this battle video started. Going to get right into it here with a Shadow Alolan Ninetales into a Walrein. This is miserable, but unlike the last team that I showcased with the Ninetales, we have a better safe swap in Jellicent, and you just love that Jellicent, don't you? It looks like you're both awful blue. So the opponent not swapping out is probably going to mean that they don't have a solid answer in the back for Jellicent, or it's going to mean that they have a better answer in the back for my Ninetales. So I'm going to continue to play this out. I will shield what is most likely an Earthquake, and I'm hoping I can win this matchup. I'm hoping my opponent eventually just lets this go, but they are going to put up a shield as well. Now, I'm not keen on baiting here, and I'm also just going to let this go. My usual rule of thumb with my safe swap is if my opponent stayed in for more than a couple of charge moves to play it out, they're probably at the point now where I'm just going to stay in. Now, I let this go because I thought it was just an Icicle Spear. My opponent completely bamboozled me and got me. So I'm going to catch this Icicle Spear on the Ninetales. I was figuring they're probably not going to throw an Earthquake at my Ninetale or at my Cofagrigus, so I go straight into my Ninetales to catch that move, and I note that they come in with a Tapu Fini, which is probably why they didn't swap in the Jellicent. And that also means they probably have something else in the back that's not too fond of Jellicent. It could be something like a Swampert, or it could be just something that's Ice type or Water type. So I try to get to a last-second Weather Ball. I'm not going to be able to get there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to farm this Tapu Fini all the way down and save the energy for whatever comes in afterwards. I remember that the opponent's Walrein is completely energy dry, and I've got so much energy at this point that I'm going to get a shield and then some. So it's just going to be a matter of what they've got in the back. And so what they've got in the back is a Charizard. Now, this is going to be dicey because they shield one, and I don't have any Pokemon left. So what I'm going to look to do here is I'm just hoping they don't try and catch. That would be really bad. They go for the Blast Burn. The Blast Burn KOs me, and I'm not going to be able to get to 2 Dark Pulses here. Now, this was a 9-in-1 run, so I promise you that there are no more losses on this battle. So stick around because the rest of these games were actually really well done. My opponent played that really well. The Jellicent happened to beat like the whole team individually, but unfortunately it couldn't do the work all by itself. Had I properly shielded that Earthquake, I think I definitely would have had that game in the bag. So we get another game here. Leads against the Cofagrigus on the opponent's side. So I can't really swap in my Jellicent to draw out a Ghost Answer because it will get shredded by Shadow Claw. So instead what I do is I stay in with my Ninetales. I go ahead and I fire off the Dazzling Gleam bait. So build up the Dazzling Gleam Weather Ball as a bait. And then I'm going to fire off the Dazzling Gleam now that they've decided to go all the way up to my Dazzling Gleam and hold their energy. But they come in with a Nidoqueen, and they don't shield. It's a third shield, right? They catch the energy on their Nidoqueen, dealing resisted damage. So basically, I'm going to answer with my Cofagrigus. I'm going to go for the Dark Pulse because I'm thinking, okay, at this point, I am going to fully farm down after this Dark Pulse lands. They're probably not going to shield it. And get the farm down, and then even if my opponent comes in with their own Cofagrigus, they're at a point now where their HP is low where they will have to shield even a Dark Pulse. I have a slightly attack-weighted Cofagrigus, which means I probably win CMP if the opponent built a rank 1. So I did have that in mind when I built it, but now the opponent is going to have a Walrein, and I'm going to look to, wow, I was thinking about trying to catch there, but it didn't register in my brain fast enough, so they go for the Icicle Spear. Obviously I let it go. And then I'm going to come with my Ninetales. And just like the last game, I'm going to try to catch an Icicle Spear. But no, I guess I didn't. I did these battles like 3 days ago on my Patreon live stream, so forgive me if I don't remember every detail. But I'm basically coming in with my Wall Rain to soak the energy here, and I wanted to force the shield off my opponent. Now my Jellicent can shield once and get to the Shadow Ball, and will take out this Cofagrigus in one hit with the with the Shadow Ball. But my opponent was just one away from the Dark Pulse, so now this is going to get me. This is going to do quite a bit of damage. I got a Shadow Ball, and the Shadow Ball hurts. So now what I need to do is I need to get myself to the point where I can get to the Shadow Ball with less than 5 Icicle Spears from the opponent. So that's 3 hexes. 1, 2, 3. And that's going to allow me to get to my Shadow Ball just before they would get. Had I stayed in, or had I fired off that Shadow Ball any sooner, I would not have been able to get to the Earthquake, and I would have been KO'd. So, well played to my opponent. That was a very close game. Get a really nice lead here with his Shadow Dragonite, and they just bail immediately into Snorlax, and I'm like, shoot, I don't have a good answer for the Snorlax. So what I'm going to look to do here is I'm going to take this Body Slam. I realize that my Ninetales doesn't need to have a ton of HP to deal with the Dragonite, as long as it has some HP just to handle a few Dragon Breath and a shield. So I'm going to fire off a bait here. My opponent decides to let it go, and now I'm going to fire off another Weather Ball. And at this point, what I can do is I can come in with Jellicent, because Jellicent has Surf. Jellicent gets to Surf fairly quickly, which is really nice. And what this also means is it also means that my opponent's charge moves have absolutely no place here. So I'm going to overfarm a bit. You know, I want to get them to throw some energy here. I don't really, you know, I know I'm going to have to tank this energy regardless. They're just going to keep throwing Body Slams and Body Slams. So I'm going to overload on a ton of energy. I'm going to go for the Surf, and I want to have energy left over for when the Dragonite comes in. Excuse you, okay? Yeah. I want to fire off a Shadow Ball at the Dragonite if I can possibly help it. Opponent gets to a last second Body Slam though, which means now I'm going to have to not... I'm going to go for a Surf Bait here, thinking, oh, I'm definitely going to get a shield out of this, right? No, you'd be wrong. I don't. And they take me out before I even get... I'm so mad at myself right now at this point. They have a Swampert in the back, so what I do is I farm up to a Weather Ball on my Ninetales, and I save it for later so that I can take out the rest of the Dragonite. My opponent is going to come in with a Swampert, and I only need to fire off 2 moves here in order to take them out. And since they decided to fire off the Hydro Cannon, and now I can safely save my shields for the Ninetales at this point. I don't need to shield anything at this point. But I do shield the Hydro Cannon here because the Shadow Claw will register, and if they don't throw Earthquake, I can live one more Hydro Cannon, fire a Shadow Ball off at the Dragonite, get the shield, and then Ninetales gets the opponent with a Weather Ball, and that's going to take this game. Very well done to my opponent. But just whenever I see those Dragonite leads, it's like, as long as my backline can have some play, Ninetales can easily handle that Dragonite with little to no issue. So well played. Getting into the next game here against an Aggron. This was scary. So I have to decide whether this thing has stone, or not stone, what is it? Smackdown, or if it's got Dragon Tail. So I stayed in for one fast move, noticed they did super effective damage, and immediately bailed into Jellicent. I'm still going to rely on Cofagrigus to be the closer here, even though Jellicent technically is the better answer to the Aggron. But I have to trust in my Coffin. Now my opponent is going to go for Psyshock. I've got a ton of energy here, and I need to make sure that I at least can threaten my opponent with this energy. I go straight Shadow Ball here because I'm not messing around. And my opponent now is going to go for a move here, I believe, before I throw the Shadow Ball. I was trying to throw it as late as possible just to provide the Aggron as little farm as I could, because I knew that they weren't going to... Oh, I didn't know if they were going to go down or not. I don't play Jellicent very often in the Ultra League, to be honest. Not since Registeel became a really big thing. But my opponent's Psyshock is going to come through, and I'm looking to just farm all the way down. I get too greedy and not counting. So I missed this one. They do throw a Weather Ball. I just let it go. I realized that my Ninetales is going to have very little value here, so I just want to throw off a Dazzling Gleam, but it looks like I'm the benefactor of the one-turn desync. My opponent does not get their fast move through, which means my Ninetales lives to see another part of this fight. However, my Cofagrigus is going to come in, going to shield up the Heavy Slam, and in the back they've got a Cresselia, and I've basically got this game on lock at this point. I'm going to max out on energy. I'm going to throw 2 Shadow Balls at this Cresselia after probably tanking one move just to make sure that I've got you know, enough energy to get to another Shadow Ball against the Aggron, and then this is pretty much it. Moonblast is not going to come close to taking me out. I'll go for the Dark Pulse most likely. No, I remember this now. I went for the Shadow Ball just to ensure the KO, because Dark Pulse does do some damage, but not enough when I need it to anyway, right? So I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball here. My opponent does concede. That's a good game. So we got a Cresselia lead here. This is kind of tricky, but I do have two good answers in the back. So I do decide to go straight into my Jellicent. My opponent is running Snarl, Alolan, Muck. And that is a core breaker for this team if it has Poison Jab for sure. But because this one has Snarl, Ninetales is going to actually be able to do some farm here. So I'm going to play this out. The 0 shields, I'm just going to get as low as I can. What's the matter, Babby? Do you want to get down? All right, go ahead. I'm going to play this out as much as I can in the 0 shields. I'm not really willing to commit a shield yet. I will commit a shield if it means that it can get my Ninetales a little bit more farm. So right here is where I make the decision to shield, because it means that I'm going to be able to get a little bit more farm or shield from this opponent. Now, if they no shield, I can win switch, potentially, but they shield, so that means that now they're going to farm me down. But I'm going to be able to get to the Surf. So they throw energy just as I get to the Surf. I let it go. Now the Muck is in a great farm range for my Ninetales. And as long as I'm keeping count, they should only get to 5 if it means that they're going to throw it. Now they threw it like 3 here. So I'm just going to call that this is not a Sludge Wave. And thankfully it wasn't. I mean, at that point, I think I was willing to just let it go and keep the shield for my Cofagrigus, even if it was a Sludge Wave. But that was a gamble. My opponent decided to just throw the move, so I'm going to toss the Gleam at the Cresselia to soften it up. Then Cofagrigus is going to come in and start doing its thing. And now it's going to be up to my opponent in the back. Hopefully that was their only answer to the Ghosts, and it indeed was. They have a Shadow Swampert in the back, which means that with one Shadow Ball, I'll be able to take the first shield, or their only shield, I guess. And then with the second one, I'll be able to KO the Swampert just about. Now they'll probably go for an Earthquake here. And they do, and it almost takes me out. So what I have to do here is I have to give this thing as little farm as possible when the Cresselia comes back in. So I am going to go for the Shadow Ball here, and it doesn't quite make it, so now it's going to be all up to my Ninetales. Now, my Ninetales is pretty healthy. You're goofy. You're so weird. Why are you screaming at a glove? Now, I know from previous experience that a Moonblast will not KO my Ninetales from this range. So, I can either go for a Gleam, or I can go for double Weather Ball here. And I'm going to go for a double Weather Ball because I remember that the Weather Ball actually is more than enough to do it in 2 shots. So, going to go 1-2 punch, take out... Some of my glasses are. Going to take out this Cresselia, and that's going to be a good game. Very well played. My voice broke. That's... Man, so we got another good Dragonite lead. Love these. Love to see it. Cobalion is going to be their safe swap. I meet it with the Jellicent. I'm not going to bring in my Cofagrigus to this Cobalion just because I expect there to potentially be a Registeel in the back. And the reason why I expect that is because Caleb Pang ran a team with Pidgeot Double Steel. So I'm thinking maybe this person has a Shadow Dragonite in place of the Pidgeot, which is a certainly reasonable thing to play. It's a very good team. But I'm just making sure that I, have as much energy as possible in the back. And again, like we said earlier, I want to be able to launch a Shadow Ball at the Dragonite. Now this time I'm going to launch the Shadow Ball because I learned from last time, and I don't have enough HP to get to a Surf Plus the Shadow Ball. So I'm going to end up coming with Ninetales, and there's the Registeel. So I'm glad that I didn't counter with the Cofagrigus now. So that's going to mean that I'm going to have to grind out a 2-shield matchup with the Registeel. And I kept my Ninetales in the back. Obviously, I'm not going to keep it in against the Registeel. But I'm going to keep this Cofagrigus as healthy as I can for right now. And what I do here is I make sure that I throw after 8 Shadow Claws that is going to CMP on the Zap Cannons, which means I'm getting the maximum amount possible of damage between the Zap Cannons, because if those attack drops hit, every bit of health counts. So my opponent only gets the debuff on the second one, so that puts me ahead by a bit, but now I have to be careful of them trying to catch a move here, because that's a very real lose condition for me. And obviously, if anyone's aware, Alolan Ninetales really isn't that good against Registeel. However, with the Shadow Boost and enough energy, my Ninetales could absolutely put a hole in a Registeel. So just watch. You'll see. Though we're going to take a superpower. Okay, cool. But I'm going to get up to a couple... You're not here for Pokemon content. You're really just here for her. Listen to that goofy little girl back. You're such a goof. You really are. That's how I feel every day. So my opponent is going to be able to get to the Zap Cannon here, but because I am have a Cofagrigus still in the back, I'm going to take the game. That's well played. I'm just going to let her have the show here at this point. Alright, Ampharos, Core Breaker, has Brutal Swing, so I have to stay in with Ninetales. I cannot safely swap out here because I'll be taking super effective damage on both my ghosts. That's my sock. That's not nice to my sock. I'm making sure that I throw in the middle of their fast moves on every odd Powder Snow, and I shield this up just on the off chance that my opponent may be running Zap Cannon or Focus Blast. So, gonna fire the Weather Ball off. My opponent now has the back-to-back moves because they threw at 5, but I swap in my Jellicent. I know I'm gonna take super effective damage, but I would much rather get it out of the way here, draw out potentially their counter to the Ghost type, which is a Trevenant. That's their best answer to my Jellicent. Could be their best answer to my Cofagrigus as well. I do get a shield. Now, if you're playing this team and you use the Jellicent Safe Swap, you could absolutely make a case for Surf Baits here. I would 100% be okay with that. However, it's very risky, and if you want to be guaranteed the shield, you can. Now, I get hit with the one-turn lag, but I know that this is probably a Shadow Ball. My opponent wouldn't just go off and throw like that unless it was something else. So, now they come in with a Tapu Fini, and I'm looking to count to 7 after they come in, which is how many they're going to need to get to the Surf, and then swap to catch the Surf. But my opponent is very smart, patient, held onto their energy, and they hit me with a Moonblast, and I do not get an attack drop, thankfully. So Shadow Ball is going to come out. Now, I left the Weather Ball on my Ninetales just to make sure that I had something to hit that... just to make sure that I had something to hit the Trevenant with. The Trevenant is indeed Energy Dry now, and I will outpace to 2 moves. However, my opponent just decides to quit there, which is, I mean, they did lose that game, but that's still, you know, I would still play it out just because. All right, so here we have... Did you throw that?
I did nothing.
You're weird. So it's a cancel, or it's an Alolan Muck with Poison Jab. This thing core breaks my team, but they're throwing it this early. I'm just going to call it's an Acid Spray. I'm going to go for the Gleam on Hail Mary. I want the shield, or I want their HP, and thankfully they don't shield it, which now means that even Jellicent can come in, get a Surf off, and be fine. Now, I'm going to no-shield this, thinking this might be an Acid Spray bait, but they go straight for the Dark Pulse and hit my Alolan, or I can't think right now. It's my Jellicent right where it hurts with the Dark Pulse, and they shield up a Shadow Ball. Excuse me. So I'm going to go for another Shadow Ball, but my opponent does go for the Surf right here. I know they didn't build up to the Moonblast. What are you doing down there? She's just right under my desk. I don't know. Right under my feet. So my opponent throws the Surf. I know that they didn't build up to the Moonblast because I do know the counts for Water Gun. It's being someone who's used Tapu Fini myself. They go straight for Surf here so I can no shield and get a Shadow Ball off. And then I'm going to bring in my Cofagrigus. And I also remember that I lose CMP from the last battle. And these are the 2 of the 3 sets that I played with this team when I went 13-2. And they're going to come back in with the Muck. And this tells me now that whatever's in the back is they don't like my Muck. Or they don't like my Cofagrigus. So they're going to come in and soak the energy on the Muck. I probably could have farmed it all the way down if I was paying attention. My opponent is going to throw the move. I'm just going to just use the Force and try to catch a move. And they threw the Moonblast and undercharged it. And I think they quit. That or they're just trying to get farm. No, they wanted farm on their Charizard. So thanks to them not doing any moves, now, however, that is going to allow me to get to the Weather Ball. And all I have to do now is get to a second Dark Pulse. My opponent will not be able to get to 2 Blast Burns in the time it will take. So they will need to bait here, which means I can safely actually no-shield this if I want to, but I'm counting, and I know that even if this is a Dragon Claw bait, they're not going to get up to another Blast, up to a Blast Burn after this. So I can safely shield it and go for the Dark Pulse and take this game. Well played to my opponent. So coming up into this next game here, we've got Ninetales on the lead versus Regirock. This is a really bad lead, so I'm going to immediately do Jellicent. My opponent answers with some Shadow Victory Bell in the Ultra League. This is this is degenerate right here, all right? We've brought Grasshole up into the Ultra League, and I'm not here for it. So my opponent does farm all the way down and is going to fire a move, whether it's a Leaf Blade or not, I don't care. I'm just going to shield it and throw the Sludge Bomb, which means I know that they need 9 to get to a Leaf Blade, so I can safely farm down and count, and they're going to get that much farm onto my Ninetales. So I can throw the Gleam here. I can also throw Weather Balls if I want to. Neither one is actually resisted. Despite Rock doing super effective damage to my Ice-type Ninetales, they actually don't have the ability to resist my move. So they're going to come in with Shadow Torterra, and this is the Grasshole. Go! Stop. Just stop. They no-shield the Shadow Ball, and I'm counting. And I know that the opponent's moveset is Sand Tomb Frenzy Plant, and they did not build up to the Frenzy Plant. Just a Sand Tomb. I'm going to no-shield it, and the opponent is going to have to now shield up a Shadow Ball or a Dark Pulse, and I'm going to throw the Dark Pulse bait, thinking that they're just going to take it. And they do not shield it, which now means that CMP tie has occurred, and I can now either farm down or go for double Weather Balls with my Ninetales and take out this Regirock. So whatever happens first, I'm either going to farm down or I'm going to get to 2 Weather Balls, and that's going to be it. And I am glad, because I don't like Grasshole. Go away. No respect for that team, trainer. Shame on you. But it is cool spice, I'll give you that. So Ninetales into the wall ring, just like last time. We're going to go immediately into the Jellicent, and the opponent is going to answer with Scrafty. Now, they were a little late on the swap, which means I'm going to get some extra energy here. I also have to keep in mind that the wall ring has extra energy as well. And then I can just go for Surfs here, and I don't need to worry about the opponent baiting or anything, because I'm not going to shield anything they throw. If they want to bait, that's their problem. So they go for the foul play. Now, I'm going to be able to get another Surf off before they get to a 3rd foul play here to take me out. Or 2nd foul play, I should say. And look how low the Scrafty is going to be once I do that. Now, I throw with bad timing here just because I want to make sure that I get the move off. I know that it's 6 to the 2nd foul play, and they were dangerously close. Now, if I wanted to, I could shield this and farm all the way down. And you know what? I think I just will. I would like to get Switch here. So I do that, because I would much rather have Cofagrigus on the field here against the wall ring than I would rather have the Ninetales. So my opponent comes in with Trevenant, and now everything is clear to me. I have my Ninetales against the Trevenant. The Trevenant gets a slight farm down here. Probably could have gone for the Surf Bait, but it would have been super, super close. And game mechanics kicking my butt here. I no-shield this, whether it's a ball or a bait, I don't care. They're going to go straight for the Shadow Ball and have all the balls, and now I'm going to have my wall rain going in on this Cofagrigus, or their wall rain on my Cofagrigus. English is hard, folks. Don't quote me on any of this. I don't know what I'm doing. So gonna go for Shadow Ball here. I'm not messing around. The extra 1 fast move's worth of energy for the bait's not worth the extra damage that I'm gonna lose out, because there now I'm gonna be able to go for Dark Pulse baits if I want to. I would rather land the hard-hitting move or get a shield and bait later. So opponent's gonna go for Icicle Spear, and I'm gonna be able to get to the Dark Pulse, but unfortunately this means now that I will CMP and I do let this go. I decide to keep the shield for my Ninetales. I'm going to go for a full farm down / Weather Ball down if I can. I go all the way up to where the Icicle Spear would be. I go for the Weather Ball. Thankfully, it's enough to KO. And I just need to get to 2 Weather Balls. My opponent gets to there. But I realize now that with 1 more fast move after this, they're going to be able to take me out. But my opponent goes straight for the move. And that's their mistake. This person could have absolutely won this game had they gone for the Shadow Claw instead, but they go for the move, and that is going to be their undoing. Ninetales is going to get the Weather Ball off, take it, and that is a great game. Very well played to my opponent here. Very close game, unfortunately. Sometimes it's hard to see that one win con where don't use the energy, just go straight for the fast moves. It does take some patience, and sometimes I don't even see it, but well played to my opponents. This team picked me up after having a really rough couple of days. Had like a minus 250 elo stretch over the first few days of this rotation before I picked this team up and just went absolutely bonkers with it for 3 sets. I went 13-2, and I haven't played any sets with it since. I just haven't had time, but we're gonna pick it back up at some point this week and play it. So that's gonna do it. Oh, she's back just for the end. Look at that. You just wanted to come back just for the end of it, didn't you? Hi, Maggie. All right, well, that's gonna be it for all of us. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we're gonna catch y'all in the next one. Bye.